Hello, everyone. This is Akira. Thank you for joining us for our second special noodle class, broadcasting from our headquarters in Kagawa, Japan. Um, so this is the second time like we are doing this like online noodle class that's on like our YouTube channel, Yamato Noodle. And thank you for joining us. Today's subject is on like noodles that are like suitable for takeout and deliveries. We decided to do this class because because of situations that have been going on like with the COVID-19. So like most of our customers are like noodle restaurants. So we've been like kind of thinking of like how we can help. What we can do like for our customers like noodle restaurants. Because of situations where like all these like dining in like restricted and like they've been like struggling. So we thought like this delivery and takeout noodle business would be like kind of a big part of their business is like for a while at least. So we just decided to do this class. And then like we're gonna be doing this kind of class like for maybe like for a long time. Like, so this is just the second time what we're doing, but like we are continuing to do like more of this kind of class like from the coming days. So if you are interested in this kind of class, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Yamato Noodle. And yeah, and then like if you enjoy this class, please hit the like button. And then if you have any questions, please leave them in comments. And then some of my colleagues may be like answering your question. And then if there are some questions we haven't answered at the end of this class, like we're going to be doing like a bit of like a quick session. So in there, like we're going to be answering those. But like if you can't answer any of the questions during this class, we'll be like answering them like through emails. So please, leave some your questions in comments. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing like for maybe like 1.5 hours from now is that like I'm gonna be talking about like what we need to do like for like noodle is like suitable for takeout and deliveries in lecture. So like I'm gonna be just talking like about like for like 30 minutes in the lecture, and then like Megumi is gonna make some like noodles like from scratch. And then we're going to be moving to the kitchen that we use for our school. And then like we're going to be having like some instructors standing by to show you guys how to cook noodles and how to put together some takeout noodle dishes. Okay, let's move to the lecture and then start talking about this subject. Right. But like for some of you like who don't know much about us, it's let me talk about like let me explain like what we do, Yamato Manufacturing. So we are 45-year-old like manufacturer of noodle making machines. We design and manufacture noodle making machines that are used mainly for noodle restaurants and small production. We also, but like basically like for these types of noodles, like Japanese noodles, ramen, like udon, soba, but like, they are capable like producing such noodles as like Chinese style noodles, pasta, and other types of noodles as well. And then we will also be running a noodle school for 20 years. And, like on udon and ramen and soba. And so we have a school right here in Kagawa at our headquarters. And then I'm going to be, kind of introducing our school, like the kitchen, like what we do later. But we also have a school, same functionality, like same kind of facility in Tokyo, Shinagawa, Tokyo. And then we also have another one like in Singapore as well. Due to this situation like virus, schools were closed. Like our Kagawa school like just restarted like last week. So for some maybe like if when the travel ban is like over, hoping some of you before are interested in like coming to our school, like we will like come here and then learn our school. Okay, that's, and then like we also have like so we have customers like all over the world. Like our machines are used in 61 countries, and like they're growing. We also have like distributors in different countries and partners in different countries. Okay, let's get into okay. So and then we also have group of experts for experience in noodle making, soup making, production. And so I'm going to be introducing like some of our instructors, like noodle making experts, in the kitchen later. Okay, let's get into the lecture part. So I think like as I talked about, like I think the takeaways and like the delivery noodles are like going to be like a huge part of like big part of like noodle restaurants. And then we've been getting like some inquiries, from like businesses saying that like, oh, I want to start some like business with the noodles, ready to noodles, but like, we maybe like just focused on like takeaways and like deliveries. But there are some challenges to providing good takeout noodles. So let's talk about these first. So, we think that like there are maybe like 5 challenges to like providing good takeout noodles. So of course, like when our customers take out and then like take them home, they would have to do like a bit of like preparations at home. They may have to cook noodles, or like they may have to warm up the broth. So the job of like customers like doing that at home may be difficult. So it may be like hard for them to like create the same kind of like dining experience at home. So that's one challenge. So you have to like make it like easy enough, like simple enough for the customers to be able to do it. The soup noodle dishes, of course, like many of the ramen dishes like are soup noodles. The soup noodles are hard to make into like good takeout products. Because like, for example, like customers like would have to like take them home, so they might spill like some of the soup like on the way back, so maybe a problem. Then also like a difficulty in like retaining noodle texture after cooking. So noodle gets, of course, like gets soft, like soggy, like over time. So like by the time like they get home, like the noodles are really soft, like it's not really the texture. And the cost of takeout containers, like packages and availability of like adequate containers, that's another challenge. We basically have to rely on the customers to do the good job of like preparing takeout dishes. Yes, so like they may not be like like used to cooking, experienced cooking, so it may be difficult. So how do you overcome these challenges, right? There's like what makes noodle suitable for takeout. And then, so I think like there are like 3 points, right? One of them is like, of course, like, we talk about texture holding property, like to have like texture holding property, like retaining texture for a while after cooking. This is important. And then there are ways we can do that. Second point, so noodles, we need to provide like noodles that go well with the small amount of soup. Then so I'm going to talk about like some of the like types of the noodle dishes that are good for this. Third point is short cooking time. So when you allow the customers to cook the noodles at home, was like the cooking time should be shorter. The shorter cooking time, the more willing the customers are like to cook at home, right? So there are ways we can do that as well. So I'm going to talk about these. But first, let's start talking about the first point. So texture retaining property. This is important. Because like we don't want the noodles to be like kind of soft and like have like no texture at all, like when they eat at home. So noodle textures. So the noodles get like just getting softer like after cooking, but like there are ways we can do to sort of like kind of slow it. one of the ways is the noodle size, ingredients, the resting process, the cooking time, and what is a good texture, right? So the texture should be like chewy and hard but elastic. What makes noodle texture? We have to know what makes noodle texture last longer after cooking. I mean, to do that, we have to know why noodles get soggy and soft after cooking. There are two patterns of noodles texture going bad. One of them is noodles getting soggy after a short period of time cooking. The second one, starchy noodles, so drying, it hardens and it becomes fragile after cooking. The second pattern is is very hard to kind of prevent, but in the first pattern, there's something we can do to prevent it. So how noodles get cooked and soft in hot soup, right? So you're looking at this picture it's like you're looking at dissect the noodle, and then you're looking at from the cut surface angle. So when you cook the noodles, the cooking water is absorbed from the side of the noodles, size of the noodle, the cut surface. So the cut surface, the noodle get absorb water from cut surface, and then you see that fresh noodles, and then cooked noodles. Cooked noodles means that outer areas of noodles are cooked, and then meaning having some water absorbed, right? And then but in the center, the core part of the cooking noodles are still uncooked. So that's why when you bite into it, you have you feel sense some bite to it. But when the noodles are soggy, then all the areas where noodles are will penetrate with the water, or hot soup. So that's why the noodles get soggy over time. Okay, and in this picture, this is an extreme example. Well, in the previous picture, on the right hand side, it's reverse cut noodles. So usually noodles are cut with the width bigger than thickness, but reverse cut noodles, actually the thickness is bigger than width, and that means so it has a larger cut surface, meaning you absorb more water faster. So you see that on the right hand side picture, it has a large cut surface, so it gets soggy fast and it absorbs soup and hot water faster. Okay, so one of the ways we can prevent, we can slow the penetration of the water to noodles is that we can apply the resting process after noodles, after they're made of noodles. So I usually ramen shops, for example, when they make noodles, they don't serve the noodles right away, right after they make them, but they store them fridge for 1 to 2 nights. And then inside the noodles, there are some air bubbles, right? And then if you cook noodles with these air bubbles in it, that these air pockets burst and then damaging the gluten and making the noodles prone to getting soft faster. So you should apply this resting process after you make noodles. And the noodle types. I think we are going we keep going back to this chart more and more but this chart basically explains different types of noodles in terms of hydration ratio, the protein content of the flour that's used to make these noodles, and then the size of the noodles. I mean the cutter size that are used to cut these noodles. So the x-axis represents moisture content, how much water is contained in noodles. The y-axis represents protein content of the flour. So the higher the protein content, the harder the noodle texture, and then the less water, the harder the noodle texture. So and then sizes, on the right hand side, there's a noodle size from 1.0 millimeter to 2.5 millimeter, so thinner and thicker. Basically, in this chart, what I want to say is that so there's a pattern of the noodles. So like green circle like says like hard ramen, that's like thin and hard noodle, and then like yellow circle like this is like dipping noodles, that's like thick and soft noodles. There's a pattern, thin and hard or like thick and soft, and then somewhere in between. And then we're gonna go back to this chart again later. And then ingredients. So ingredients is like you can actually change the ingredients to like kind of have your noodles like kind of retain longer, retain their texture longer. One of it is like we use like egg white, so just white part of the egg, right? So we use that to to what you kind of phrase it well, like kind of like waterproof kind of. So it like by adding like maybe like 1 to 2% to the weight of the flour, you know, it can like sort of like slow the movement of the water inside the noodles. So yeah, we use that. And the gluten powder, like that's a pure extract of gluten from wheat flour. So this actually makes the noodles harder, so that like being hard, like you know, in the hot soup, like it kind of lasts longer in terms of like texture. Kind of like yes, like it's like it can be like hard like for a while. Another ingredients like you might want to consider like using is like kansui. So kansui is basically one we use. It's like basically a combination of potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. And the potassium carbonate makes the noodles harder. Sodium carbonate does the exact opposite. So we usually like blend these like two types to have like different effects. Well, like maybe like we can increase the amount of potassium carbonate to make the noodles harder, so that the noodle can retain its texture like for a bit of longer. And we can also like use water, like use water meaning like changing the water content, like hydration, to make the noodle like retaining their texture longer time. Also, like another way, like we can, we might like suggest that you do like to retain the noodle texture is that like you know like you cook less shorter time. So like if you are, for example, like a ramen shop, like providing customer with like takeout items, and then you let's say like you cook the noodles, right? You so you provide the customer with the cooked noodles, and then you could what you could do is that you could like you know shorten the cooking time. For example, like if your noodles like cooking like 2 minutes, you could like stop the cooking probably like 1.5 minutes. But what's important to remember here is that like you need that your noodles to be like needs to be like gelatinized. So gelatinization is like starting like noodles like take up like liquid and like a swell upon like heating, and then like so it becomes like kind of gel-like texture, right? So for that, like it has to be it has to happen like before you know you stop cooking. Otherwise, like your noodles are like raw. So other than that, like you can just like shorten your cooking time for your takeout items. Second point is that like of course like noodles that are like good with like small amount of soup. So because like customers like you know have to like carry them home. Like if it's delivery, that's okay, but like if it's takeaway, then the customers like you know they have to like carry them home like by themselves. So some may like spill some soup like on the way home, like make mess. So maybe like good idea to like serve them the noodle dish with like a small amount of soup. Some types of noodles good with small amount of soup. And then these are some like existing like noodle dishes, like madamen, like abrasoba, like these are pretty like essentially the same thing, but like just like a jajangmyeon, like that's like kind of like Korean style, like kind of cold noodle. Tsukemen, dipping noodles, yakissoba, like stir-fried noodles, the hiyashi-chuka, like that's cold noodles. What do they have in common, right? What are their common characteristics? For example, like size tends to be larger, bigger, like the thickness and width, which leads to like higher hydration ratio. And the noodle texture relatively like softer but chewier. And like show the pictures of these noodles. Like you see, like on the top left, that's like jajangmyeon with some like kind of ground beef bean paste on like in it. You basically just mix it with the like sauce and then like coat it with the sauce and then like eat it. The top middle, like that's tsukemen, dipping noodles. It's very thick and soft noodles. The top right, that's yakisoba, stir-fried noodles. Bottom left, that's like here's like cold noodles. The bottom middle, that's like aburo-soba. Then the right bottom, that's the mazesoba. And then some of these dishes are actually like what we are cooking. I mean, what we are putting together, like in later, like in the kitchen. So this picture is actually like on our website, like on our like Noodle Master Lab blog. So like if you have like time, like or interested, like just check our website later. So this shows like evolution of like ramen. So standard ramen, so that's like noodle soup dish, right? So that soup consists of like soup stock plus like tare, which determines the like taste of the soup, and then oil, the flavored oil. So that noodle volume is like very high, like a lot of soup, right? I mean, sorry, like soup volume is like high, like a lot of soup. And then it's like soup density, like how thick the soup maybe, like that's like low to high, like there are many variations. But basically like soup volume is high and then there's noodle in it. So and then like there came like tsukemen next. And tsukemen like being like around maybe like 30, 40 years. Like basically like tsukemen, they cook the noodles and then like, rinse it to like take a starch, wash them and then chill them. And then serve in the bowl, and then like they serve you with like a small bowl with like a small amount of like a broth, and then that's so like soup volume is like low, that's small, and then my like soup density is like medium to high. So basically they serve you with a lot, a lot of noodles with that like small amount of soup. And third, that's like madamen. Then that's like, so you have like cooked noodles, like again, they wash them like to get rid of starch and then like chill them like in the cold water. And then they like mix it with like a sauce, like or like small amount of soup. Basically like kind of coating like the noodles with it, like with this like sauce. So yeah, so like over time, like as the like ramen like evolves, like the we are losing like maybe seeing like less and less broth. And so going back to this chart, right? So we think that like it's the noodles that are suitable for takeout and deliveries are like kind of like in this purple circle here. There are tend to be like high in water content, like low in protein content, like which makes these noodles like softer, chewier. Then like size of noodles like tend to be like larger. So yeah, so that's the kind of noodles like we think we should have like for takeout and deliveries. And then the third point is that like because of this restrictions and like government like orders, like like in Japan, like we had like 1.5 months, like 2 months of like state of emergency, and like people like asked like stay home, and then like so people more and more people like kind of having more time on their hands like at home. So they have more time at home, right? So people are more willing to do some cooking at home. So we should take advantage of this tendency to let customers cook noodles at home. So in this case, the noodle size matters. I think the shorter cooking time, the more willing the customers are, to cooking. So yeah, in this case, like we probably should, give them the noodles that are like smaller in size. So we have this like small table like on our Noodle Master Lab blog as well. But it's like a hydration ratio. The higher the hydration ratio, the shorter the cooking time. and then size, like smaller size, or like shorter cooking time. But the size of the noodles like matters more in this case than like hydration ratio. So if you have like noodles that are like high in water content but like large in size, the cooking time like longer. Yes. So for those of you like who think like your like your customers like are willing to take on the cooking of noodles like at home, like you should go with this as well. So like for this kind of noodle, like we may be talking about like the green circle, like Hakata ramen noodles, like which cooks like in like maybe like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or maybe like the one in the middle, like a red circle, like yakisоба, like Tokyo ramen. That should be like cooked in like 1 minute, like 1.5 minutes, which I think like short enough for your customers to be like willing to like cook at home. Okay, so that's what I had for like this lecture part. So we have over here we have the ingredients weighed already. So this is flour, then water. This is kansi. So like kansi, like we talked about, something you have to have like in ramen noodles, big ramen. It's called like aka kansi. Aka means red, but like this is like a product name. Aka. So like 60% like potassium carbonate, 40% sodium carbonate, and it's salt, right? These two we need to dissolve in the water before we add it to the flour in the mixing process. So we consider these two ingredients as liquid ingredients, and the solid ingredients. We have like other ingredients we talked about here. So this is egg white in powder form, which makes the noodles last longer in hot broth, some texture. Then gluten powder, which makes the noodle harder. And here we have like whole egg in powder form. And also we have like some like the dye, the coloring agent. Like if you want to have your noodles like have like bright yellow color, like you might use some of these. You may like use like this kind of like whole wheat powder, knead it into your noodles. That makes your noodle like healthier. Okay. So over here we have a machine like noodle making machine like this is called like Richmond One. It's got a 10 kilogram mixer, and she's going to put the first the flour in it. And this mixer is like minimum batch is like 4 kilograms. And so like that flour was 4 kilograms. And then first, what we do is that like we're gonna do like what we call like air mixing. So we won't like break like some like chunks of like flours like if there's any like into like small pieces, or like you won't like add some air, like put some air into the flour particles. This process, and then you might have noticed that like there are some holes in the lid of the mixer. That's where these are where the liquid, the water is dripping through. So the water is added to the flour little by little. You don't want to add like all the water like all at once, and because there are some parts of the dough like that, there's some parts of flour that's more wet than the other part. Yeah, so we want to like add the water like a little by little, like gradually, to have like good hydration of dough. So yeah, she's dissolving the salt and kansi. So we just add like first like just 2/3 of the water first, and then like what we're gonna do is that like we're gonna open up the lid after like 4 minutes of mixing, and then we're gonna clean them inside. We want to like well clean the inside to have like because there's gonna be like some parts of the dough like that's more wet than the others, so we want to mix them up to have like better hydration. And after 4 minutes done, we are adding the rest of the water and then like mix it for like another 6 minutes. So like total mixing time is like 10 minutes. Okay, so we can't wait forever for the mixer to be done this class. So let's keep it going. So there's some dough that we made like before. Then so she's what she's gonna do like she's gonna feed this dough into the rollers to have rough sheet of dough. This process like we call rough sheeting. So this hydration ratio like it's actually 38%, but like inside 38% of liquid, there's like 1% of salt and 1% of currency. So the actual amount of water is 36%. And then she adjusted this the wheel, which points out 1.5 millimeter. For this size of dough, we can start from like 1.5 millimeter like roll gap. And so on the other side of the machine, like rough sheet of dough comes out, and then she's winding it onto the rolling pin, and then the rest is automatic. For this process, like we need to like go slow, because like we want to apply like good pressure up into the dough for the first round of sheeting. And like this machine has like many safety features like different functionality, and then like this the gate when you open it, like when it moves, the roller like stops automatically because like you don't want to get your hand like holding the rollers and then become part of the dough. So yeah, so that there's a safety feature. And this machine is actually C certified machine, so it's ready to be shipped to Europe, EU countries. As a matter of fact, we have a lot of, I mean, we have a number of customers like using this machine in Europe already. And we also have like kind of same model. That's for North America, where certain safety standards are required, such as like NSF, like UL, for Canada, like CSA. Okay, so after like this like rough um, dough forming, we call it. And then next process like we are doing is that like we are doing we call like combining process. So because this dough is like still very fragile, so we need to make it firm, make it like stronger. So to do that, we separate the dough into like two separate sheets, and then like combine them through the rollers. And so that was 1.5 millimeter roller gap like we went through. So each dough should be like 1.5 millimeter thickness, right? But like we are combining them together through rollers. So supposed to be like that's 3.0 millimeter of like a dough going into the roller, because that's 1.5 plus 1.5. But we need to like gradually thin the dough. Like we need to like apply not too much pressure, but like not too little pressure, but like we need to apply like just good amount of pressure right onto the dough. So we do this so like 70% roll. So like every round of like sheeting, like we apply this roll like 70%. So for example, like that was like, so this is like 3 millimeter equivalent dough is like going through the roller. So we calculated as like 3 millimeter times like 0.7, 70%. So that's like 2.1 millimeter, but like run it down to like 2 millimeter for the sake of simplicity. So now like roller gap is set to 2.0. So the dough that came out from the rollers, like smoother and then like stronger, firmer. And so that was like first combining process. And then the next round, like what we're gonna do is we're gonna do another combining process just to make sure this dough is like firm enough. And then like by doing this process, like we're actually developing the gluten structure inside the dough. So by doing that for the second time, like we are actually strengthening the gluten structure as well. And then, so that was like 2 millimeter of roller gap, like this dough went through. Then 2.2 plus 2, like 4 millimeter equivalent dough is like going in right now. So like 4 times 0.7, like so 2.8, but run it up to 3.0 millimeter. And when from this point on, we want to like turn on the this like automatic duster, because like we want to dust it, like prevent it from sticking together. So up to this point, like we want them to stick together by combining them. But like after the combining process, we want to dust it. And so from this point on, we can actually go faster. Like we can speed up the roller speed. And so it went through the roller gap like 3 millimeter. Then we apply the rule 70% again. So like 3 times like 0.7, like 2.1, but like run it down to like 2.0. So after like second combining process, like we so that like dough is like complete in terms of the development of like gluten structure and the firmness. So you're gonna just thin it. You're just gonna thin it to the final thickness before we cut it. And so we're thinking of like cutting it into noodles, but we always have to like measure the actual thickness. That's like 2.6-ish. So that's the like the difference between like the roller gap we set and then like actual thickness. Like there's difference like 0.6 millimeter. And actual thickness is like always bigger than the like roller gap we set because it expanded back like after like it's gone through the roller gap. So that's the difference of like 0.6. And then depending on like what size of the cutter you're cutting this dough, you're setting the roller gap to reach the final thickness. And we are using number 14. Then the final thickness should be like 1.9 millimeter. So to reach 1.9 millimeter, we are setting the roller gap to 1.3 because we expect that dough to bounce back by 0.6 from the roller gap of 1.3 millimeter. Okay, let's start cutting. Okay, let's actually measure the thickness, see if it's really 1.9 millimeter. One point nine. Okay, that's. And you can actually adjust the length of the noodles, this volume, shorter, longer. This length of noodle like actually determines the serving size. And this type of like noodles that we just talked about, like noodles that go well with a small amount of soup, tends to be like a bigger serving size because like the ramen shops, like noodle shops, like I think like they have to, they feel like they have to like compensate for the small amount of soup, right? By serving like bigger size of like noodle portions. But like of course like the cost of the noodles, like cost of like producing one portion of noodles like is they say like in US dollars, like that's like maybe 10 cents, like up to like 25 cents. So I think like it makes sense, like maybe like if you're a noodle shop, like for you to well give like provide like bigger noodle portion than giving them like bigger amount of like soup, which probably like costs more to produce. And actually, some of like ramen shops in Japan, like they create value by providing sort of, for example, like free noodles, like free. So if you eat like one bowl of like ramen, then they give you like one free serving of noodles, because like it doesn't even cost them like much, but like customers like feel like like happier like by getting like more noodles. Okay, and for the rest of the dough, we are cutting it with this cutter like number 16. That's like a bit smaller than number 14, but it has like this part, the back of the cutter, to make the noodles are curly, wavy. So number 16 is like the width is 2.0 millimeter, and then the final the thickness of the dough like should be 1.7 millimeters. So like that's like 0.2 millimeter like thinner than number 14. So we adjusted the roller gap to 1.1 millimeter, and then we expect that noodle to expand back by 0.6 millimeter. So basically, like, noodles are stuck between the plates that we showed you guys, and then they get pushed out from the by the next portion of the noodles, and then they get curly like in the process. Okay, so that's how we make noodles, and then let me show you guys the different types of cutters that we use for like takeout noodles and delivery noodles. Like this number 18, that's a bit smaller than the like number 16. Is number 20, like this is something that you may want to use for your, like we talked about, like, so if you are letting the customer like cook the noodles at home, then, you may want to use this one. And then maybe like cooking time, maybe like, 1 minute. This is like number 16 cutter. That's like 1.3 millimeter in width. This is like usually used for like such ramen as like Hakata tonkotsu ramen. They like it's very thin, so the cooking time is like it's around like maybe like 30 seconds, 40 seconds or so. So the shorter the cooking time, maybe like more willing the customers are to do the cooking noodles. And these are some of the noodles like we made for this class. So this one, kind of thicker version, like usually you use it for like tsukemen, like cut with like number 12. It's 2.5 millimeter width, and then like have some whole wheat powder needed in them. It's like kind of healthier version. Then the like hydration ratio like 42%, like it's pretty high for ramen noodles. And then you can actually make them curly like this by hand. If the noodles are soft as these. And then this like number 18 cutter, like same dough, but like cut with like different cutters, different sizes. So this is like 38% noodles, like basically like ramen noodles, but like we made these noodles to use them for like a yakisoba kind type of noodle, like stuffed rice noodles. This green one, we made them with like a seaweed powder. So like after like COVID like 19 like situation, like people more and more people like getting like health conscious. So like having seaweed and like some other ingredients that are like that boost your customers' like, immune system. I think that'd be a good idea to have like some ingredients known to boost like immune system to this type of noodle. Um, this is a yellow kind of yellowy noodles, but like what we add in them is that like we add like kind of lemon powder. This lemon powder has like skin as well, so it has like some bitter flavor to it. But like lemon, vitamin, right? Vitamins like source of vitamins, so it's good for health too. So you can, it's very easy. Like you can make like all kinds of noodles, different types of noodles, like by changing the water hydration ratio, ingredients, and then the size of the cutters, and then like make them curly or straight. It's very easy to do it. Okay, so we are going to move to the kitchen, and then our instructors are waiting, to show you guys the like how to cook noodles, and then like how to put like together the takeout noodles, takeout dishes. Uh, but before that, um, let me talk about a bit about like our school and other things. So so we've been running like this school like for like 20 years. Then like over time like with 20 years, we have like every month like we have different students, and each of them like brings like his or her own idea of like what kind of noodle dish that they want to make, what kind of like noodle restaurant they want to do, what kind of like noodle business they want to do, right? So each class like we've been like accumulating all their ideas, like all their recipes, and like so we have like a huge database, and so that's the so like we have source of knowledge like our experiences that help us like kind of help our clients, and yeah, under like current situation, like it's hard to travel to visit us, but like we do have like locations in here in Kagawa headquarters, and we have like many experts. So it's like if you're interested, and like if this is over, like if like things get back to normal, I hope you guys will like kind of visit us at like our headquarters in Kagawa, Japan, or Tokyo, Shinagawa, Tokyo, or yes, like or Singapore, or like we have a location actually in Amsterdam, Holland as well, and then we are opening like another location in New York. So if you're interested, like yeah, please feel free to contact us. And yeah, like we're gonna be doing like more of this kind of class from coming days. So if you guys are interested, like please subscribe to like our YouTube channel, and then we're gonna be like kind of um, announcing like more of this kind of class like in the coming days. So please. Okay, so let's move to our kitchen. So this is our kitchen where like we teach like cooking part of like ramen and like udon, soba classes, and we have like this kind of same kind of facility like in Tokyo, and kind of like smaller version of it like in Singapore. Um, and over there we have induction cookers. Like we have like very powerful induction cookers, like 10 of them. So like, for example, like in ramen school, like you're gonna be like cooking different ingredients. Each part is like cooking different ingredients, and then like we are letting like our students taste like each of the ingredients broth, so they know how like each of the ingredients taste, and then like so they can put them together, like blend them together to reach their own recipes. And then of course, like we are making like tare which like determines like taste of the ramen soup. Like we are making like 30 or 50 like of them like from scratch. They like flavored oil, many of them like from scratch. So basically, like, we are providing students with this like environment where they can experiment like, with this like play around with this like ingredients to reach their own ramen recipes. And this school, we only have like up to like 8 students at a time, but like you can work with like other students, who have like different background, like some of whom may be like ramen shop owners, like who have been like running their restaurants for like over 10 years. So you can like work with like different people, and they like they can share like their recipes. So you may end up like bringing your not only your own recipes but also like other students' recipes as well. So this is what we have over here. Like so, we hope like you'll be like visit us like when things get back to normal. Yes. So let me introduce you guys like our instructors over here. So Mr. Ikeda, the chief instructor here. So he has a background in like Chinese cuisines, like so he, which is like kind of similar to like ramen. So like he knows a lot of like depth of knowledge of like Chinese cuisine, and like and he's been like teaching like udon school, like ramen school for a few years. So if you have any questions, please feel free to like ask him. And yeah, Mr. Sun. So he recently joined us for like he speaks Chinese, and like he's very well trained. So if you have like some of the folks like who speak Chinese, like please feel free to like ask him questions in Chinese. Okay. Over here we have Mr. Takeuchi. So he's basically like native American, like Canadian. So he speaks like native English, and he's been like with us like for like a few years, teaching and like training. So and then he's basically like doing this class, the latter part of this class today. So I'm gonna hand it over to like Mr. Takeuchi. Yeah, call him Thomas, and yeah.
Hello. Okay. Hi. Okay, once again, my name is Thomas, and I'm one of the instructors at the Yamato Noodle School. And today I'll be talking about some of the tips for preparing your takeout dish. And we'll be using madamen and yakisoba as an example to talk about the tips for preparing your takeout dish. So let's go over to the boiling machine. So before getting into the cooking, I want to talk about the 2 problems with the takeout dish for noodles. One is the noodles get soggy for takeout noodles. And 2 is a noodle sticks together as one clump. So you have to prevent those 2 problems. And there's 3 tips for you to prevent those 2 problems. Is 1, after you boil the noodles, you have to wash and chill the noodles. You want to remove the starch around the noodles because that causes a stickiness. So wash and chill the noodles. And 2, what you want to do is after you boil and wash and chill the noodles, you want to coat the noodles with oil. And having the oil, it's going to keep the noodles separate and also block any kind of moisture going back into the noodles. So that's tip 2. And tip 3 is to keep all the liquid, for example, soup and sauce, separate from the noodles. Because if you have the sauce and soup in the noodles, once again, the noodles are going to start soaking up the liquid again, and it's going to get soggy. So separate. In this case, this is for madamen. This is sauce for madamen, and we have the sauce in this mini bottle separate from the noodles. Okay, so please remember those 3 tips, and we're going to get going on making the madamen. So first, we're going to boil the noodles. And when you want to boil the noodles, make sure to have rapidly boiling water. And when you put in the noodles, don't just dump it in. Make sure to separate the noodles as you put it in the boiling machine. And these kind of noodles will be boiling time will be around 3 minutes. So start the timer. And for the first 5 or 10 seconds, you want to mix it around. And make sure that noodles are moving around in the basket freely. You don't want the noodles to be like on the bottom and just clumped up, and because the outside is going to be soggy and the inside is going to be undercooked. So you want the noodles to be moving around freely. Okay, as the noodles are boiling, let's start preparing the sauce and the oil. And like I said, madamen for takeout, you have the sauce separate from the noodles. And this sauce is for madamen. This is a soy sauce based sauce for madamen. And this was prepared at our ramen school. And obviously the recipe is taught at our ramen school. So if you're interested, please consider a ramen school. There's around 25 milliliters of sauce in here. Next, flavored oil. So what we want to do with the flavored oil, we want to use this flavored oil to coat the noodles. So I'm going to pour this oil into this bowl. So after we boil the noodles, we're going to wash and chill them, and then put it into this bowl and mix it up and coat the noodles with oil. And this oil is flavored with leek and garlic and some sesame oil. And once again, this is taught at our ramen school. So we still have a little bit more time, so I'm just going to quickly talk about the toppings. So what we have here is fish powder. Specifically, this fish powder is mackerel and urume. If you don't have access to these kind of fish powder, maybe you can just use bonito flakes or bonito powder. And this is ground pork, flavored with garlic and ginger and soy sauce and Chinese spicy miso. And soft-boiled eggs. And seaweed. And up to here, it's pretty common. But from here, you can just like play around with the topping. So what I have here for green is for avocados. For the red, we have tomatoes. And for the white, we have onions. Okay, the noodles are boiled. Now we want to wash these noodles. Wash the noodles in running water, and you want to scrub gently. So just like this. So this removes all the starch around the noodles, and the starch causes the stickiness, so you want to remove all of that. And now you want to strain out all the water. Make sure to strain out every single water because this is going to dilute the sauce. Okay, just like this. And then put the noodles into the flavored oil. And mix it up. You want to coat every single noodles with oil. The oil keeps the noodles from separate, and also it prevents the moisture going back into the noodles. So just like this, noodles are nicely coated with oil, and now we're gonna put it into the container. just like this. And for the toppings, we're going to divide the circle into 4. And in the 4 parts, we're going to have this avocados, tomatoes, onions, and seaweed. So first, avocados. Tomatoes. And chopped up onion. And then some seaweed. And in the middle, we're going to have the ground pork. And make a small hole in the middle because we're going to put egg in the middle. So for the original madzemen, we usually put raw egg yolk in the middle. But since this is a takeout dish, we're just going to use soft-boiled eggs instead in the middle. And on the side, we're going to top some dry fish powder. So this is how to prepare your madamen for takeout. And I'm just going to put the lid on. So it will be prepared like this. And the customer, when they're just about to eat it, they're just going to pour the sauce on the noodles and mix it up, and it's ready to eat. Make sure madamen, direct translation of madamen is mixed noodles. So it's important to mix it up before you eat. Okay, so this is madamen, and we're going to move on to yakisoba next. So this is the ingredients for the yakisoba. Obviously noodles, and for here we have ginger and garlic, and sliced pork belly, and cabbage, bean sprouts, and carrots. And this for the toppings. We got the seaweed, green seaweed, and also ginger. And for the seasoning, typically yakisoba is seasoned with yakisoba sauce, but I'm pretty sure some people don't have the access to yakisoba sauce. So I'm going to show you a simple recipe using salt and pepper and a sweet soy sauce. And this sweet soy sauce, I just mix sugar and soy sauce together to make this sauce. Right? Okay. Let's start cooking the yakisoba. So first, once boil the noodles. Once again, we're going to be using the same noodles, so this is going to be 3 minutes. Once again, make sure to mix the noodles for the first 5 or 10 seconds to move it around. Okay, so as the noodles are boiling, let's start preparing the veggies and meat. And I'm going to heat up the pan and put some oil, vegetable oil, and garlic and ginger. Make sure to just slowly cook the ginger and garlic. You don't want to burn them. You just want to flavor the oil and just lightly color the garlic and ginger. So I'll cook the ginger and garlic until it's just slightly colored. So just like this, the garlic and ginger is slightly colored. So now I'm gonna put in the pork belly. And maybe cook the pork halfway through. And once the pork is half cooked, we're gonna put in the vegetables. And before putting the noodles, we're gonna season the vegetables and meat with salt and pepper. Salt and pepper, and half of this sweet soy sauce. And once again, once the vegetables are half cooked, we're gonna move it to the side and open the space for the noodles. The noodles are done, so we're gonna wash them. So in general, when you're making yakisoba, most of the time you wash the noodles after you boil them. Just like this. So now the noodles are nice and clean. Strain out the water. All right. I'm going to reheat the pan. Put the noodles in the open space. And we're going to season just the noodles. So with salt and pepper. And the remaining sweet soy sauce. And mix the noodles so they're all seasoned. Once the noodles are nicely seasoned, mix it up with the vegetables and meat. So just like this. So the yakisoba is done, so I'm going to start plating it onto the container. And I'm gonna put some seaweed on top and ginger on the side. And one more tip for you is that don't close the lid right away because the noodles are hot. If you close it right away, it's going to keep all the moisture inside and it's going to make the noodles soggy again. So try to keep the lid open as long as possible and just close it right before serving it to the customer. So that is how to prepare your yakisoba for takeout, and also madamen for takeout as well. Oh, so we got a question: the recipe for madamen sauce? The sauce for the madamen is quite complicated. Yeah, the sauce is quite complicated, and it's taught at a ramen school. So please, if you're interested, please consider a ramen school. So that's about it for the questions. Okay. So I'm going to recap the points. So when you're preparing your takeout dish, you have to prevent two things. You have to prevent the noodles from getting soggy, and two, you have to prevent the noodles from getting sticking together. So to prevent those two problems, 3 tips for you. 1, wash and chill the noodles after you boil. 2, coat the noodles with oil. And 3, keep the sauce separate from the noodles. So yeah, remember those 3 tips. It's probably going to help you prepare your takeout dish. So yeah, that's about it from my side. So I'm going to pass it back to Akira for the remaining.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So that's what we had like for today's class. But like we're gonna be doing this kind of class more and more, and then the subject is probably up to you guys. So maybe like we think of like something like with the yakisoba maybe some subject that like kind of big subject that we can do like just to like yakisoba like one class. We could do like class just on like maybe like tsukemen, because like there are many variations and like there are like tips and stuff like that, like a lot of tips like we could teach you guys. So please like if you have like some questions like comments, and then like if you have like some other subject like you want to learn more about, then like please leave them in comments, or like send us some emails. Okay, and then so thank you guys for watching this class, and then I hope to like see you guys like next classes. And then if you enjoyed the class, please hit the like button, and then like give us some comments. And then if you are interested in this kind of subject, please subscribe to like our YouTube channel like Yamato Noodle. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys like in the next class. Thank you. Bye.